It's a real pleasure to be back here at C3. I came here a few years ago. It was such a memorable day, and I've been an evangelist for your community here for the last few years. Every time I meet someone that's moving to West Michigan, I let them know, and I'm glad to see that a few of you guys have joined this community. So I have a few things I want to talk to you about today, and I make this magazine called Found. It's all notes and letters that people find on the ground, find on the street, love letters and to-do lists, journal entries. People just find this stuff and they send it to me from all over the country. So I brought a few favorites with me today. I'll share with you. And we were talking during the 9 o'clock hour with this small group about just taking more notice in the natural world, looking up, looking down. And as I make my travels through the world, I end up looking at the ground a little bit more. Now that I start looking for these little found scraps of paper, little crumpled up pieces of paper. And so it's really magical what will appear once you start looking. And this one came from Brooklyn. My friend actually found this one in front of her apartment. It's written to a guy named Delane. And it says, "Dear Delane, you and I are just friends. That's the way I wish to remain. I like you, but only as a friend. I would be happy if this doesn't affect our bond as friends. Please understand, it's not because you're not handsome enough. It's just because you and I are friends and that's it. The reason you can't be my boyfriend is because I'm not as attracted to you as you are to me. To be honest, I just want us to be friends, that's all. It's your choice whether you want to be friends or not. Signed, Julia, P.S., let's just be friends." So my friend that found this, she says she wonders if Delane ever got the subtle hint that she just wanted to be friends. And so many of these found notes seem to revolve around love and relationships. Like clearly that's something that's on a lot of people's minds. And this one came, let's see, where was this one from? Madison, Wisconsin. It's a guy, he seems like he's counseling his friend who's in the early stages of a relationship. He's just trying to give him some advice. So he says, don't rush things. Be her friend first. Take her out for lunch. Ask her, would you like to go out for lunch? My treat, please. Come on, please. So I like how he's, anticipating rejection for his friend before he's even really had a chance. And then in San Francisco, a woman told me she got to work in the morning and she found in the office fax machine these 3 mysterious faxes. They had come through in the middle of the night. Like no idea who they were from, just these handwritten faxes, but they got the time code up top so you can see when they came in. And the first one's from 2:36 a.m. It says, "I just want Gigi back. Tell me where she is and I'll come get her. Why are you doing this? Be a man." Whoa. The next fax, a few minutes later, "This is cruel and emotional abuse. No wonder you drive the women you're with crazy. They either join cults or want to kill themselves. Be a man for once in your life. The world doesn't revolve around you. Just let me have Gigi now. I can't believe you're even doing this. I will come get her. If not, I'm calling the police." And then finally, the last fax at 2:56 a.m. just says, "Sorry, wrong number." And there's like, it's almost like a frowning face. It's like a oops, my bad face. And then my friend Abram, he teaches at this middle school in Houston. And he always finds great stuff out in the playground. So he found this one, and it says at the top, Erica Rioja. Erica Rioja. "Erica, we the boys want to know, why are you going out with Nathan? And you like all of us in a way. Tell us why and list how much you like the person with their name. For example, Fred, not at all. Sorry for asking you all these questions, but we the boys want to know and get to the bottom of this." I'm always having to write these letters because the rest of the boys, they are some punks. You don't have to tell us right away, but do tell us. Me, Fred, and Ricky thought of writing to you, but really it was just Fred. All the boys in the 6th grade likes you, except for some. That means you are the finest girl in the whole 6th grade. A few of them like you because of you know what. But not me. I like you because you have a pretty face, a pretty smile, and you got a little hair going down your face. It makes you even prettier. You said that was your own style, and I think that's so cool, or whatever. That's all for now, so see you on the flip side. Peace out. P.S. Call me if you want to talk about something or tell me about myself. You know my number, and if you don't, then I'll tell you in your ear, because I don't want any other girl but you to know my number, not even Aisha. And I was talking to Teresa and Carrie earlier about how nurses and teachers are my heroes, and And so many teachers give me found stuff. And college professors. This one was found on the University of Texas campus in Austin. It says, Jenna, can I give you a sensual massage? Then I will talk about Jesus. My shoulders are sore. I could use some spiritual guidance. Where's this guy when you need him, And then this one came from Rockford, Illinois. This is the first ever ransom note that someone found and sent in to us. It's typed up. Naturally, you don't want to handwrite a ransom note. It'll be traced to you. This was typed up, and it was found at a grade school there in Rockford. It says, AJ, we have your binder. You will never see it again unless you leave a sum of $3.50 directly under the clock to the left of the room, to the left of the door at precisely 1:15. Please do not inform any teacher of this transaction. If you mess this up, you will regret it. P.S. If you do not comply, you will never see your binder again. From South Bend, Indiana, came this one. I love this one. It's like this kid's report for class, and it's called What I Know About U.S. History. This kid, Justin Hensel, and he drew this picture of Mickey Mouse on the paper, which doesn't relate to anything in the paper, but I just like that. But Justin Hensel wrote this paper, What I Know About U.S. History, by Justin Hensel. Betsy Ross sewed the first American flag. George Washington was the first American president. George Washington was a general in the war. Martin Luther King was a civil rights leader. Chris Columbus discovered America. George Washington cut down his father's cherry tree with an axe that his father gave to him for his birthday. The Black Panther was started during the Vietnam War. The Sputnik satellite was launched. Man went to outer space. Malcolm X began his quest for freedom. The Constitution was signed. The Boston Tea Party happened. The anti-government group, the Anarchy, was started. King Tut's tomb was discovered. The stoplight was invented. The 1967 Ford Mustang Shelby was introduced. Nitrous oxide was allowed to be used in muscle cars, show cars, and modified racing cars for use in drag racing in 1978. Fine moment in U.S. history. Black people won the right for freedom. Hitler began the Nazi Klan. Ted Bundy was sentenced and committed suicide. JFK was assassinated. Richie Valens died in a plane crash. Edgar Allan Poe's short stories and poems were published. Elvis died of an OD. Jimi Hendrix died. Jim Morrison died. Paul McCartney was knighted. Another fine moment in U.S. history. And finally, Justin Hensel was born. I love that kid. Would like to find him sometime. This okay. Some of these finds are just cryptic and weird, and I try to think of an explanation for them, and I struggle to. So if you have an explanation for this one, let me know. It says, more buns, more cups, less lies. That means something crazy to somebody, so let me know. This one was found on the DePaul campus by me. I found this one early when we first started Found Magazine when I lived in Chicago, and it's kind of an ordinary flyer, someone looking for a roommate, but there's a couple weird things about it. First of all, there was 200 of these hanging all over the DePaul campus, every one of them individually handwritten. Dude, Kinko's, make your life easier. They'd handwritten 200 copies of this and stuck it around. It starts out pretty ordinary. It says, looking for a roommate in Lincoln Park, male or female, reasonable rent, lots of room, cool, responsible, laid-back guy. For more info, call 847-647-7700. Ask for Dan. Here's where it gets weird. He says, please call after 10:45 or 11 p.m. to 12:45 a.m. or 6:30 to 9 or 9:20 to 11:30 a.m. Call ASAP. What is this guy doing from 9 to 9:20 every morning? He can't answer the phone. Still trying to figure that one out. And then a couple more given to me here by teachers. This one came from UC Davis, outside of the Bay Area. This was it seemed like a pop quiz in class, and there's 4 answers here. So some kid, these are the answers he came up with. You don't know what the questions are. You can deduce some of them, but some of them I have no idea. So he says, number 1, I would name my twins Mickey and Minnie. Cool. Number 2, hell no. Hell no. If you're going to control the U.S. Armed Forces, you have to be born and raised right here in the U.S. of A. All right. Number 3, the book would be about the ghettos of the world, and the title would be The Ghettos of the World. Number 4, set my arms on fire using rubbing alcohol or spitting flames using rubbing alcohol. What question elicited that response? Still trying to figure that one out. And then finally, before I get into a couple other kinds of things, this one came from a college campus that will remain nameless. All right, let's kind of keep it under wraps. But what happened was this guy found in a dumpster diver, a kindred spirit to myself. He found a folder of 20 teacher course evaluations for the same class. And you guys know how it is. At the end of the semester, you fill out those course evaluations. I try to be generous to my teachers. I know it's a tough job. I give them the benefit of the doubt. Well, this class must have been so crazy because 17 out of the 20 kids mentioned in their course evaluations how the teacher every day would bring her 6 cats to class every day. This guy doesn't even mention the cats. He's got something else to say. He says, I cannot remember anything about the content of a specific class any more than I can recall the most boring moments of my life. The educational value was so phenomenally low that my frustration grew into hatred for the teacher. And then it became more widespread, affecting my family and friends and possibly people I never even met before, until finally I reached the point where I hated myself for being there. That's what a Duke University education will get you. Wait, did I just say that out loud or I thought it? I said it? Go Blue. All right, go Blue. Don't send your kids to Duke. In Ann Arbor, where I'm from, I have a friend named John Tucker, and he's talented at finding interesting receipts. So he found this one a few years ago. It just has 4 items on here. It says, gun, ski mask, nerds. Sounds like an interesting afternoon. And then John found another one a year later. It says, chicken ramen noodles, 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 12-pack lubricated condoms. Sounds like an interesting night. I love to-do lists because I'm a list maker myself. I always, try to figure out what I got to do. So this was a 1-item to-do list found in Las Vegas. It says, must win money. And then from Portland, Oregon, this one says, to do, turn in library books, find out about college, mail dad's stuff, pay bills in advance, write crystal, hide guns. Don't know what's going on there. From up north, from Traverse City, came this one. Create a circuit of pirate radio stations in the Traverse City area. Open an arcade. Open a coffee shop called The Joint. See all my favorite musicians in concert. Wipe out my entire Amazon.com wish list. Straighten out my left arm. Make my legs an even length. And then from St. Louis, goals for today. Number 1, go to church, find God, then find myself through God. Get baptized. Number 2, meet new people. Party a lot. Start drinking. Looks like my handwriting. Eerily. This is a great one from Connecticut. Found outside of a grade school there. It says, things to do. And the first 3 are crossed out. Get a new skateboard deck. Crossed out. Think of band names. Crossed out. Get lawn mowing service going. Crossed out. The last 2 still yet to be done. Hook up with Jen. Make it to the 6th grade. I love that one. So I have a couple last finds to share with you guys at the end, and I want to read to you a piece. Actually, I work for this radio show called This American Life. You guys get that out here in West Michigan, right? What station is it on here? What? Oh, you listen to WM or 104.1? Okay, 91.7 in Ann Arbor, 104.1 out here. So I have a piece. Actually, a little bit of it was censored and bleeped when I first read it on This American Life. I did get permission to give you the uncensored version, guys, today. So I'm gonna dip into that in a second. But I want to pass around this email list. I asked you to just put your name and email on here. I like to email you every few months to give you updates on new projects that we're working on, and also when I'm coming back here to West Michigan with my whole crew. Because my brother is an amazing musician. He plays songs based on some of these found notes. And also we have a new film we've been working on that I was talking about a little bit during the 9 o'clock hour, and we'll bring that to West Michigan before long too. So let me just pass this around. Even if you already get emails from me and from Found, could you put your email on there? Thanks. And so, my brother and I, when the first Found, we made Found, the Found magazines we put out once a year. And then we had a found book came out with our favorite finds from all, actually all 50 states. And we thought it was only fair to take the show on the road and do these kind of found events in every state. And so my brother and I did an 8-month, 136-city tour. And the publicity team at our publisher, they got us booked on Letterman and these other, big things that were a real thrill. We also found ourselves doing these morning TV shows in Reno, Nevada, or every city we went to, and sometimes those were less glamorous, But I wrote this little piece about that experience. It just takes me 5 minutes to read it, and then I'll wrap up with a couple of last finds. But this is a piece I call Nibble, Lick, Suck, and Feast. Here we go. Nibble, Lick, Suck, Feast. A few years ago, a publisher put out a book I'd put together called Found, based on the annual magazine I produce, which collects love letters, to-do lists, journal entries, photos, and other personal notes that folks around the country have plucked up off the ground or the street. To help spread the word, I bought a van on eBay and hit the road with my brother for an 8-month, 50-state tour. The publicity team managed to get us booked on local morning TV shows in most of these cities. How it worked, I'd show up at 6:30 in the morning, a producer would clip a little microphone on me, and somewhere between weather and sports, one of the morning show anchors and I would talk about the book for 2 or 3 minutes. Early on in the tour, I took these gigs pretty seriously. After all, the publicists and TV stations, they were clearly doing me a huge favor by spreading word about the book. In Philadelphia, Boston, and New York, I made sure to arrive plenty early, act energized, and be prepared with cool found notes to share. By the 3rd week of the trip, I was starting to wonder who exactly, if anyone, was watching the local news at 7 a.m. Also, while a couple of the hosts of these shows were real cool and genuinely enthusiastic about the book, most of them didn't get me or the whole idea behind Found. Yet this only increased their chipperness and jaunty dawn enthusiasm. "Those pants are so fun," they'd say, looking me up and down. "Green pants, you're fun, huh?" What kept me excited about these TV gigs was getting to meet and hang out with the other folks who were my fellow guests on the morning shows. These were local chefs with recipes of the week, mayoral candidates, a team of Irish dancers, a kid with an 80-pound pumpkin. In Baltimore, on Fox 5's Good Morning Baltimore, I did my little Found song and dance, and the anchor asked me to stay on her couch while she brought out the next guest, Baltimore's best mom. This was right before Mother's Day. Baltimore's best mom turned out to be an 87-year-old woman named Darnelda Cole. She sat next to me on the couch, and on the far side of her sat her 50-year-old son, Dice. Darnelda had no idea why she'd been asked to come on TV. They had plotted this as a surprise. The anchor asked Dice Cole to read a letter, that he had nominated his mother for Baltimore's best mom. And Darnelda grew weepy. At last, the anchor declared Darnelda Baltimore's best mom. She produced an oversized plaque and presented it to her, at which point Darnelda fell sobbing into my arms. I gave her a bear hug, caught up in the moment. The anchor woman joined our embrace. Dice, meanwhile, had lit up a cigarette, which an alarmed producer raced over and doused with a splash of water. Darnelda took this in and began hollering at her son and whacking him with her new plaque. "Dice, you can't smoke in here. This is TV we're making. What you thinking, boy? Put that damn thing out." There were other high points. And by high points, I mean low points for the stations and their guests. In Cleveland, 2 city parks employees showed off an injured hawk and falcon. They'd rescued and rehabilitated. Then the falcon got loose and started flapping about, crapping on everything. The anchors had to forge on to the local news and sports and weather, while the falcon continued to dive bomb them, rationing its poop so it had enough to drip a few drops on them with every sortie. It was amazing. In Chicago, a young soccer champ who they invited on to demonstrate his fancy moves booted a ball off the wall of the set, knocking it over backwards, revealing the fact that we were not actually in the host's living room, as it might appear, but in the middle of a big dank concrete hangar. In Phoenix, I was sandwiched on air between Cedric the Entertainer and the governor of Arizona. Cedric came on right before me, dropped a couple F-bombs, and then left, telling his chaperone sheepishly, "I didn't mean to say that stuff. It just came out. I swear to God." Often my brother and I, we do a found event in one city, hit the road for 7 hours, taking turns driving all night, and we get to a TV station parking lot in Louisville or Milwaukee around 4 a.m. for a couple hours of sleep before it was time to unfold myself, clomp inside all rumpled and bleary-eyed, and do my thing for 90 seconds on air. In the wee hours, security guards in the station lots would poke flashlights in our van windows and roust us. And I'd explain I was going to be a guest on the morning show, and they'd disappear for 20 minutes to check into it, then come back and wake us again to tell us that things had checked out and everything was cool. In Seattle, after a young security guard played this game with us, I asked him if I could come inside to use the John. We ended up talking for a while. His name was Pico. It turned out the station was moving soon to brand new, larger digs, and Pico was going to be replaced by an automatic gate with a swipe card. Pico asked why I was going to be on the morning show, and I explained to him the whole idea behind Found, notes and letters that people had found and sent in to me, little scraps that gave a glimpse into the lives of strangers. Pico got excited. He told me that earlier that very same night, he'd been sifting through boxes that were being tossed out before the station's big move, just looking for mugs, t-shirts, old calculators, anything of value, and he'd found a bunch of racy notes from the morning show's old dour anchorman to a young camerawoman. We galloped out back to the dumpsters and mucked about until we found the stack of steamy pages. "You should read some of these on the show," Pico cried. I resisted for a bit, but Pico, he was vehement. "This guy's a Class A a-hole," he said. "I'm telling you, he got a janitor fired for throwing out his lucky tie that he left on the bathroom floor. She had worked here 8 years. 3 hours later, we were on the air, and the anchorman was turning to me with a grumpy look. "So tell me about this book. You collect trash, is that it? Trashy trash. One person's treasure is another's treasure." He might very well have been drunk at 7:15 in the morning. "Yes, sir," I said. "People are finding stuff and sending it in to me from all over the world. Some of it's hilarious, some of it's heartbreaking. It's amazing how powerfully you can get to know someone just from a little ripped piece of paper you pick up off the grass. Like this one, for example." I held his note up high and read it out loud. "Stacy, you've got a rack on you, now that's a pair. I will nibble, lick, suck, and feast on them. Quit playing hard to get." What an expression that fellow had on his face. Back in the lobby, Pico stood with 2 janitors by a big TV, and as I walked past him out into the bright, blurry morning sun, Pico smiled, gave me a nod, and said with pleasure, "Good job, man, good job." Thank you. Thank you. All right, let me just wrap up by sharing a couple last finds with you guys, and we're gonna have some more music later from Molly and from Scott. I'm really excited to hear them come back up here. But you know, people send in these incredible finds, and it's just it's such a joy really to you know, get to read them, and I never know what to expect. So this one came from North Carolina, and it says, "Dear Ron, the longer I think about what I'm doing, the sicker I feel. Ron, I'm sorry, but I don't think we should continue to have a relationship together, at least not as a couple. I love you, but things have not been the same since we found out that we were related. If you no longer want to speak to me, I will understand. I'll still come visit you. I just don't know what to say. Love always, Alicia." And you know, it's so hard to find true love in this world. It's so hard to find that one special someone. How rough would that be? You finally find them and it's your cousin or your sister. It's tough. Romance can be tough. This one came from Minneapolis, and I relate to this one too because I'm always making it's a budget list. Someone actually typed it out, monthly budget. I make these lists myself, but this says monthly budget: rent $600, cell phone $50, telephone $50, electric gas $45, bus taxi $60, food $500, liquor $600, laundry $30, crack $600, attorney $250, miscellaneous $250, savings $100. That is a responsible dude. Putting $100 away into savings every month. I wish I could say I did that. If he could spend less on crack and liquor, he'd probably be golden. And then what do I have? 2 or 3 last finds. This one's a little bit different. This one came from outside of Chicago, and actually the story is pretty remarkable of where it was found. But let me read it to you first, and I'll share a little bit more about it with you afterwards. It's a kid writing to his mom, and so the woman that found it told me. I'll read it to you first. It says, "Dear Mom, I miss you. I really wish you were here. There's been a lot of bad stuff in my life, but I'm sure you already know that. There's also been some really good things, like Justin. He's my best friend, and so is Bethany. Hey, Mom, guess what's the best part of all? There's a girl. Her name is Jenna. We've been dating for about a month and a half now. I love her so much. I know if you were here, you would like her a lot. She makes me so happy. There's nobody I've ever been more happy with. She's changed my life in so many ways. She's there for me. She actually cares about me. I prayed to God every day that I would get her, and I did. It's unbelievable. Remember when I was suicidal? Not anymore. I wouldn't even think about it. I just love her so much for being with me, you know. This girl is wonderful, Mom. She helps me through a lot. I love her more than she can imagine. I've never felt this way about anyone. I would die for this girl, Mom. I love her so much, and she's scared that we're not going to see each other when we move. But I promised her we would see each other just like normal. Well, I got my license this summer, so I can be out here every day. So yeah, I got to go. I love you so much, Mom. I'll write you again. Bye. Your son, Colin. P.S. Trevor misses you too. And so, you know, the woman that found this, she had told me the story of where she found this. And she said that she told me she was at a cemetery. And she saw in the middle of the place was this big old oak tree. And caught up in the highest branches was a balloon with a ribbon coming down to it with a piece of paper tied. So she actually scaled all the way up the tree to pull down this balloon and this note. And it's this note right here, you know. So you can just picture this kid like going to visit his mom at the cemetery, writing her this note, sending it up to her in like a balloon up to heaven, you know. And for me, it's ones like this one that just make me want to pick up every piece of paper I see floating down the street, you know, blowing down the alleyway, hanging from a balloon in a tree. And some of you guys, you know, Patricia sent me a beautiful find. Some of you guys have sent finds since my last visit here, and I've really appreciated that. And we've used some in the Found exhibitions, in the Found podcast, on the, you know, in the magazine. So I hope too the rest of you will feel inspired, you know, to just take that 1 second if you see something laying there, just to pick it up and look at it and see if it's something interesting. And if it is, you know, send it to me and my friends so we can put it in the magazine and just, you know, share it back out with everybody else. All right, 2 last finds. This one came from Ann Arbor. Actually, my friend Dylan found this during the Ann Arbor Art Fair a couple years ago. It says, Dad, come get me at the coffee shop when you're done taking a crap. Just kind of, there's like a haiku-like beauty and simplicity to that one. So I don't know why that's always become one of my favorites. And one last find to share with you guys today. And let me just tell you what we got out there on the tables out there. We got all the Found magazines. I shared with the 9 o'clock hour. I also run this program called Washington to Washington. And every year we take a group of kids from inner city Washington, D.C., Detroit, and New Orleans on a week-long camping and hiking trip. And so this was actually the 9th year that we did it this past summer. We went to West Virginia for a week. It was a beautiful spot up in the mountains there on the edge of a lake. We had 50 kids that came with us. And in fact, we raise money for the trip through an Indiegogo campaign every year, and also just through small, $10, $20 at a time through small contributions. My publisher, FSG, they were generous enough to donate a bunch of copies of the book that I can sell at events like this, and to make money to raise money for Washington. This American Life, my boss, Ira Glass, he made a CD actually with all the stories I'd done for This American Life over the years. It was the first story I did was when I went to visit Mr. Rogers. And first I interviewed all my neighbors in Chicago about the conflicts they were having with each other, and then played the tapes for Mr. Rogers and let him mediate their disputes. And it was crazy because he had all the puppets out from the land of make-believe. King Friday, X the Owl, they were all putting in their own 2 cents. So as you know, Mr. Rogers is a very special guy. That story's on here as well as a bunch of other ones. So Ira donated a bunch of these CDs. And then from the Found magazine headquarters, we got this is the latest Found book, which has our favorites from the first 4 issues of Found magazine and a special introduction. Anyways, here's a special we do to try to raise money to get these kids out there into nature for the first time. For all of them, it's their first time out into nature. We do this book I wrote. It's called My Heart is an Idiot, My Own Misadventures in Love and Relationships. We do the Found book, and then we do the This American Life CD for $20. $20. And it makes great gifts. The holiday season's coming up, so if you have friends or loved ones who you think might enjoy any of this stuff, come out and visit me. My friends Kim and Elizabeth are they're going to be out there with me afterwards. So come visit us. $20, and we got all kinds of other books and cool stuff, CDs out there. So my brother's beautiful music. We have some of those on CD as well. So come visit us and help get these kids out there into nature. In fact, the last time we were here, we were able to bring 5 extra kids the next year on the camping trip with us, just thanks to the generosity of the C3 community. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for supporting. This is the latest issue of Found magazine, $5. Just come out there and visit us at the table. And thank you guys for all the support you've given us. It really makes a huge difference. I sent some photos from our past trip to David, and maybe there's a way we'll be able to share. In fact, if you put your emails down today, I'll send you guys some beautiful photos you'll see of this trip we did this past summer. So there's the last find I wanted to share with you guys today, and it came from Providence, Rhode Island. And the woman that found this told me she found it in her front yard. The wind actually blew it into her lawn after a big storm. So it's kind of in kids' handwriting, and it says at the top, Adventure Club. Adventure Club. How to get into the club. You need to know how to climb a fence. You need to like adventure. And then the rules. No messing up the club. Don't bring anything in without permission from Shane or Ethan. You have to be nice to squirrels. And you can't tell anyone where or what the club is. So the woman that found this, she thought she might know who Shane and Ethan were. Just some of the neighborhood kids. She'd see them running around with their friends after school. She went up to them on the street a few days after finding this, and she started asking them about the Adventure Club and reciting all these top secret rules. So the kids are like shocked. How does she know all this classified information? She told them that her dog, named Kismet, had overheard them making up the rules. The kids were speechless. And as they were walking away, she heard the youngest kid say to his friend, "Whoa, Kismet heard us." So, years have passed, of course. These kids are now high school age, but she says she still likes to imagine them being really secretive around any dog after that. You guys, thank you again so much for having me here. It's been a real pleasure. I'll see you afterwards.